Good morning. Today we are going to be adding and subtracting decimals. You're going to be following the process that I have listed here. If you could pause the video for just a moment to write down your topic, adding and subtracting decimals, your essential question, how can you add and subtract decimals? This is from Big Ideas Math, our book pages 80 through 81, and the key idea here is you're going to read this paragraph here. It says to add or subtract a decimal, write the numbers vertically, and line up the decimal points. Then bring the decimal point straight down as you add or subtract normally. So I'm going to circle this because this is the key idea. This is what our big point is here. Add or subtracting a decimal. And I'm going to write the steps. So first, number 1, we write the numbers vertically. 2, line up the decimal points. 3, bring the decimal point straight down. And 4, we add or subtract normally. Those are our main ideas. So like I said, please pause the video so you can write all this information down. I know it'll take you longer than I'm going to give you on the video. So I'm assuming you will stop and write it down because I'm going to keep moving on to our practice problems. Because I think the best way for us really to do this is not just to write down the steps, but to actually apply it and do it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add. And we're going to use the practice problem 8 and 13/100ths plus 2 and 76/100ths. Remember, when we say decimal points, we say and for the decimal point, and we always look at the number that we have represented here. It's a 13, and we put it in the place value of the last digit. So this is the hundredths place, so 13/100ths. So following our steps, the first thing we do is we line up our numbers vertically. And we make a point to line up our decimal points. Okay? Awesome. So remember, like I said, you line up the decimal points. Awesome. Now we just have to add like normal. So 3 plus 6 is 9. 1 plus 7 is 8. Decimal, decimal, drop it on down so it goes right there. All in a nice vertical line. And then 8 plus 2 is 10. So you got 10 and 89/100ths. Now, here's another example. What if I have to add, but this time my numbers don't line up? They don't have the same place value. So I have 1 and 459/1000ths plus 23 and 7/10ths. Notice this ends in the thousandths place, this ends in the 10th place. They don't have the same place value. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by lining them up vertically, lining up my decimal points. So there's a decimal, there's a decimal. I've got a 1, 4, 5, 9. I've got a 2, 3, and a 7. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a different color pen to do this. I'm going to put some zeros in here. Oh, that doesn't even look that different. That is a different color. A 0 here and a 0 here. What if I cross out those zeros so you can tell that they're zeros that I've added? So we're going to insert zeros so both numbers have the same place value. Okay. All right. So now that we've done that, we're ready to just add. So 9 plus 0 is 9. 5 plus 0 is 5. 7 plus 4 is 11. Carry my 1. Now, I've got my decimal. I'm going to drop it on down. 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 3 is 5, and then 2 doesn't have a match. So it's 25 and 159/1000ths. So that's adding. Subtracting is exactly the same process. We are just going to subtract instead of add. So if we wanted to do subtract 5 and 508/1000ths minus 3 and 174/1000ths. Remember, our first step, we line up the decimals. Decimal and a decimal. Now we're going to put in our first digit, 5 and 508 thousandths. Subtract 3 and 174 thousandths. Now we are all lined up. We're just going to subtract. 8 minus 4 is 4. 7 from 0, well, we can't do that because there's not enough. So we're going to have to borrow a 10 over here from this 5. I'm going to take 1 10 over. And now I've got 10 minus 7, which is 3. 4 minus 1 is 3. Decimal, decimal, drop it on down. And then 5 minus 3 is 2. So my answer here is 2 and 334 thousandths. All right, let's try one more. This one, we're going to have to put in some placeholders. So let's do subtract, so we can remember that we have to put those placeholders in. What if I had 21 and 9 tenths minus 1 and 605 thousandths? Okay, same process, decimal and a decimal. I'm going to put my first one, which is 21 and 9 tenths. I'm going to put my second, which is 1 and 605 thousandths. Now I realize there's 2 missing spots here, so I've got to make them have the same place value by putting some zeros in there as placeholders. Okay? So this is just like what we did here. Alright, now let's subtract. Oh, I can't take 5 from 0, so I'm going to have to go over here. Oh, I got another 0, so I can't do that. I'm going to take 10 from here and move this. I'm sorry, what am I doing? This is 8. Whoops. This is 10, but I can't leave it at 10 because I need to borrow again. So I'm going to take and make this 9, and I'm going to make this 10. So I kept that, moving that 10 over. So 10 minus 5 now is 5. 9 minus 0 is 9. 8, that's a really ugly 8, sorry. 8 minus 6 is 2. I've got a decimal, decimal, drop it on down. 1 minus 1 is 0. 2 minus nothing is 20. So we got 20 and 295 thousandths. So the same process applies if we have a word problem. So I'm going to write down this word problem. It's going to take me just a minute. Your meal, and I know I write fast, so if you need to slow this down or pause it so you can write it down, that is totally cool. So your meal at the cafeteria cost $3.45. Period. Your friend's meal, sorry about that. Your friend's meal costs $3.90. They bought a little bit more than you. You, because you're such an awesome person, pay for both using a $10 bill. What is your change? Okay, so we got a couple things we got to do. First of all, we've got this is the cost of your meal. So notice I circled the numbers and I underlined your meal and cost so they know what goes with it. That's what this 345 represents. And then I've got 390. 390 represents your friend's meal's cost. You pay using a $10 bill. That's what you pay. And your question is, what is your change? Now, your question actually is going to require you to first find the total of the bill. And you do that by adding both meals. And then once you've done that, then the next thing you do is you're going to have to subtract the cost from the amount paid. Which is $10 minus both meals. And that would equal your change. Okay, like I said, if you need to pause this so that you can write it all down, go for it. I'm going to go over to page 30 and start solving this. So the first thing I want to say, I'm going to answer question number 1. And we said for question number 1, I've got to find the total of the bill. I'm going to add both meals. So I've got my meal. This is mine. And I'm figuring out the cost. And I'm going to add to do this. Okay? So I've got my meal, which is $3.45, and my friend's meal, which is $3.90. Okay? Well, I notice I lined up my decimals. Everything has got a placeholder in there. It's all set to go. So let's do 5 minus, we're adding. 5 plus 0 is 5. 4 plus 9 is 13. Decimal, decimal, drop it on down. Carry my 1 over. 1 plus 3 is 4. Plus 3 is 7. So my cost is $7.35. Once again, I took my cost of my meal, my friend's cost for her meal. I added them together by making sure I lined up my decimals, and that got me the cost. But I'm not done. This was just step 1. Step 2 is now I've got to find change. And to do this, I'm going to subtract. Okay? So I take the $10 that I paid, and I'm going to put some digits over there because I know I'm going to be subtracting money that has change over here. So it goes to the hundredths place. So I'm going to put those in just to give me enough place value. So this is the amount paid, or amount given. I gave her a $10 bill. And then I'm going to subtract what is the cost, which is my $7.35. It's combined cost. All right. So now we just need to subtract. Well, I've got all these zeros, so I can't actually take anything from them yet. I've got to borrow. So I'm going to borrow all the way over here. I'm going to borrow this 10 over here. And I'm going to make this a 0. Now I'm going to make this a 10, but I got to keep borrowing. So now it's going to become a 9. And then this becomes a 10, but I got to keep borrowing, so I'm going to make it a 9. And now I've got a 10. So this is a 10. So all these have been borrowed. So 10 minus 5 is 5. 9 minus 3, 6. Decimal, decimal, drop it on down. 9 minus 7, 2. And I don't have anything over here because I borrowed it all over. So my total change is $2.65 is the change I will receive. There you go. We will be adding and subtracting decimals a bunch because it's one of the most practical things that you'll use. Anytime you go to the store, you buy anything, you go to a restaurant, you deal with decimals because money is dealing in decimals. So this is a really important lesson for you to understand. If you have any questions, make sure you go back through the video, or you can email me or come and see me if you have any questions on how to do this process. But like I said, this is something you really want to take the time to learn. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day. Bye.